welcome to our IGTV Live. Today, Adrina, am I saying your name right? Adrina? I should have tried.
Yeah. You got it.
Adrina is a budget specialist. As you guys know, my name is Lauren. I am a health strategist, and we are coming together today to talk to you guys about a topic that I get requests for all the time, which is how to stay healthy on a budget. So Adrina's shaking her head because we have a lot of thoughts on this. I would like to know, just before we start and before Adrina starts with her points, if you're watching this IGTV video, comment and let us know the name of the store that you grocery shop at the most. I want to hear that. I'm a Costco girl. Sometimes I stop at Trader Joe's for like accessories. How about you, Adrina?
You know what? I'm all over the place. Like one week I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Sprouts. The next week I'm like, let's go to Aldi. The next week I'm like, let's go to Costco. And the next week is Trader Joe's. So I like go everywhere.
Everywhere. Gosh, you're busy.
It really just depends on like what I feel like the specials are that week, and if I have any coupons or if any of the apps that I use have coupons and things like that. So yeah, all over the place.
Yeah, totally. And we're a little different because I have a bunch of kids and you're a single person. So this is great because we're going to really balance that particular perspective for this. So I'm going to let you go first. You had a couple points that I thought were really great. So get right into them. Let's tell people what we think.
Yeah, you know, I was just before our call, I was talking with Lauren about how maybe it was probably about 5 years ago or so, I was averaging probably around $500, maybe even between $500 and $700 a month on grocery expenses for just me. And so here's the problem with that. I lived very close to a Whole Foods, and so that Whole Foods was so super walkable. So I would just go there like 2-3 times a week and just grab whatever I needed. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my goodness, I am spending a lot of money on groceries. And so it wasn't until, you know, within the past few years, maybe 3 to 4 years, that I've really honed in on those expenses. And now I just give myself a budget between $300 to $400 a month. And sometimes I even spend a little less than that. Like January was kind of like eat my pantry down. And I probably spent a total of $150 on groceries the past month. So I've really kind of honed in this number for myself.
Yeah, it's crazy how we can do that. We're doing the same thing. It's like we have a number and I stop at that number now. And that's really hard for me. Like usually I'd be like, this is what I need, especially as a nutrition coach. It's like, we need tomatoes, we need this, we need that. But like this week we hit our number, which was 165. I hit 165 for our family of 5 and it was it. And I went home, my husband was like, where are the tomatoes? I was like, we hit 165. Like tomatoes this week. And it's a really hard mindset to cultivate, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
What are some of your other tips that you suggest for people, or continuing on that one?
Yeah, so I think for me, I am a huge planner. I mean, you could probably tell that kind of by like my feed on Instagram, but every week I kind of go through my refrigerator, freezer, pantry. I make sure that I have an inventory list of all of those items. And then I also create a weekly menu plan, and then I base my menu plan off of what I already have. Like, for example, this weekend, I'm already thinking like, you know, I probably have enough food in my stockpile there in my pantry, freezer, fridge, that I don't need to go grocery shopping this weekend for the following week. So I'm going to just create a menu plan based off of what I already have. So sometimes what I like to do is like make big kind of like stocks of soup or whatever, and then I put those in little mason jars and I freeze all of that stuff. So I already know I have like 4 mason jars full of soup in my freezer. So I'm like, I could probably have 2 of those next week for my lunches or my dinners or whatever. So that's kind of how I do it. And it's not really one of those things that's like intuitive, you know, it's one of those things that you actually really have to work at. So every week on Thursdays is my day when I kind of like think through all of this stuff. I start writing the menu plan on Friday, clean out the fridge on Saturday, go shopping, and then Sunday I do my meal prep. So I kind of stick to like a pretty rigid schedule. If I've got a busy weekend, then I usually do that on like a Monday or Tuesday. So this past weekend was busy, so I did my my meal prepping on Monday. So that's kind of how I approach it. But it's not some of those, like, it's not one thing that's like really easy for a lot of people. It is actually work. And so I just try to keep to my schedule so I can keep myself on track.
Yeah, and you and I had talked about that, how like I think sometimes people think I'm just bad at meal planning, I'm just bad at budgeting, and everybody is bad in the beginning, right? Like you're an accountant, I'm a nutrition coach. We were both saying like we were both terrible at this in the beginning. I was spending way too much on groceries. I was not a particularly good cook in the beginning. I wasn't really like creative. I couldn't figure out how things were going to go together. So it's a skill. We really wanted to release the people who were watching this video from feeling that shame and that guilt about not being good at it, because it's totally normal, right?
Oh my gosh, it's so normal to not be good at it. And you don't even realize how fast things add up until you start tracking every single transaction that you're making. And so, like I said, in January last month, I basically ate down my pantry, my fridge, my freezer, and then I went to the grocery store the first weekend in February, and I like that weekend I spent like $150, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had talked to you about how like sometimes you need an outsider's perspective to help you figure it out, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we were saying a lot of people come to the table with guilt or shame about showing people their finances. So tell us a little bit about that from the perspective of an accountant and a budget expert.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there is, even I'll say this, I'll take a step back. And if I look at the larger picture, when I'm working with individuals and I'm working with their budgets and their finances, there are so many times when people are afraid to know what their numbers are. And so, even though I'm looking at every single transaction from their personal spending, I know their habits. I can already tell just by looking at their transactions what their habits are. And just that little fact, if I like mention anything about that, then there is like an instant guilt that people feel when we start talking about that. And that is like not my intention at all. Like when I talk about kind of like having a money mindset, the first thing I talk about is awareness. And so being aware of your numbers is the first step. So really just kind of like tackling that without any guilt or shame and just making sure that hey, we all go through this. Like this is a constant, almost daily thing that we have to kind of keep checking in with ourselves and making sure that we're not shaming ourselves for maybe going over budget one week and things like that.
Totally. Like for me, when someone comes to me for help, I'm just really like proud of them. Like that's what I'm thinking. I'm not sitting there judging you being like, oh my gosh, look at the way you eat, you're a piece of work. I'm like just really proud of people for being aware enough to work with somebody. So I'm right there with you. And a point that I wanted to bring up, kind of playing to that. Wait, what was my point? I just forgot it. I'm such a mom. I'm such a mom brain. We were talking about the guilt and the shame and the habits, and then I had a point, and then I totally forgot it. So we're just going to move on. Whatever, that happens sometimes. 10 years of sleep deprivation is pretty amazing. What I was kind of going to shift into is a little bit of talking about the fitness side of things, because I think that sometimes people think like exercise options are so expensive, and so their mind is shut off to realizing that their biggest expense is really the food. And so I always tell people, like, you can actually lose weight without any exercise. We usually like to include exercise because it's good for the body and it makes it so you can eat a little bit more when you're trying to lose weight, but you don't really have to exercise. One of my specialties is helping people who don't have mobility to lose weight without exercising because they can't due to medical conditions, restrictions, injuries, whatever that may be. So if you take your mindset and you're kind of stuck on, well, I can't afford a yoga membership, I can't afford CrossFit, I can't afford a gym membership, and you shift it onto looking at your food, you are going to find so much freedom in that, because it really is about what you're eating. And when it comes to what you're eating, a lot of us, because we don't have nutrition education and we don't have portion education, we don't realize that we're setting money on fire every time we go food shopping, because we're buying things that our body literally is not, it just doesn't need. So if you can imagine, like, every time that you buy a case of soda, you're literally taking a $5 bill and setting it on fire, and you took that you're setting on fire, you'd have enough for a gym membership and you'd have enough for the healthy food in a lot of instances. We just can't see where we're putting all of that money. So that's one way that I wanted to contribute to kind of shift that mindset, really focus on the nutrition. And that's so much of what I do as a coach, is really focusing in on that. The second thing that I wanted to bring up is a lot of times people get caught up in what their neighbors and their friends are doing for weight loss and fitness trends. I see it all the time. It's like, my friend is doing this program, I need to buy that if I'm going to be healthy. Or my friend is going to Orange Theory, I need to pay for that membership if I'm going to be healthy. And a lot of times what I find as a coach, and I'm sure you've found this in your life too, so chime in at any time, is that what works for somebody else doesn't always work for you. Doesn't work that way. And that's the worst feeling in the world, when you burn your money, you finally decide to do the thing that your neighbor is doing, and then it doesn't work for you. It's like, it's frustrating because you've lost your hard-earned coin, right? It's frustrating because you didn't get the results that you wanted. And then it kind of discourages you from doing anything again. So my big passion as a coach is teaching people a system to figure out what works for them before they even start. And I have an info product called Your Daily Journal that I use. I think you actually got it, Adrina.
Yeah, I did.
Teaching people to take data on themselves so they can actually see what's working for them and what's not, which ultimately is going to prevent you from burning so much coin on things that aren't working.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, to your point about the nutrition part of it, because when I really think about it, the items that are kind of like the cheapest on my grocery list are going to be in the produce section. And usually I stick with the items that are on sale for that week or for that season. And so I'm getting things at, like, I mean, my goal is like 99 cents a pound, basically. So when it comes to produce, and so I used to be a vegetarian. I don't think I've ever shared that with you, Lauren, but so I do focus a lot on items that are vegetarian, and I don't eat a lot of meat in my weekly menu plan. And if it is meat, then it's just like chicken. So I'm not really creative when it comes to that, but I do focus a lot on produce, and produce can be very cheap and budget friendly. And I want to make sure that people know that, because sometimes we go to the grocery store and we see like cherries, but it might not be in season. So you're going to be paying $6.99 per pack, when you can just kind of maybe turn a little bit, and then you'll see the next item, maybe that's an apple, and it's like 99 cents each or whatever. So, it's just like little things like that, where it's like, maybe the cherry isn't the best option for your budget right now, but maybe that'll be a good option in the summer or whenever that's in season.
Totally. 99 cents a pound is my sweet spot too. There has to be this like unwritten rule about that in budgeting. We've got to look into that more.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is.
So I was gonna chat a little bit about free options, because a lot of people I know who are trying to budget, one of the first things that they want to do is go online and look for free workouts and free meal plans. And it's amazing that because of the internet, we have so many free resources available to us. But I do always want to caution people about making sure they're getting free resources from reputable sources. Because sometimes you'll go onto Pinterest or you'll go onto YouTube and you'll get a workout video or you'll get a meal plan, and like, you don't think or realize to yourself that like, Sally from Idaho is making this, and she literally has no education in health or fitness. And sometimes these things, especially some of the meal plans, can be downright dangerous. There's not enough food on them. They're restrictive. They're missing nutrients. So you really want to be, when you go onto YouTube or you go onto Google, you want to be checking the credentials of the person putting the information up. So click the link on the account, go to their profile, find their website, look it up. If it's a nutrition, piece of nutrition information, you want to see if the person's a registered dietitian or a certified nutrition coach. Registered dietitian is the only person who is allowed to work with people with medical conditions or using nutrition to treat medical conditions. And certified nutrition coaches all kind of there's different levels. They're not all created equal. So you want to be really conscientious about who you're getting your sources from. And then as far as fitness goes, you want to be looking for someone who is a certified personal trainer or a certified fitness instructor. I myself, I'm a step above that. I have my master's degree in the field. So there are a lot more people now who have master's degrees in exercise science who are out there. So if you can find somebody like that, that's like even better, just because it's a little bit more education to make that resource even better for you. So just a word of caution.
No, you know what? That totally goes for accountants and people in finance, because I would also say like the same kind of framework, you want to make sure that you're vetting the people that you're going to be taking the advice from. You don't want to just take advice from some random person who's out there saying all these things when they might not have the experience, might not have the life experience, and might not have the credentials to back them. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
And also the compassion, honestly. Like, I feel like when you're putting your health or your budget in somebody else's hands, you have to choose somebody who has compassion, because the way that they react to you and the way that they treat you can really set you off on your journey. Like, it can set you back. If you were ready to change, this is like a big deal. But then if somebody comes in and you choose the wrong professional and they trigger you in some way where you're feeling guilt and shame or bad about yourself, you might not get back on that journey. Yeah. So yeah, totally have to be super protective. The last thing I wanted to mention on my end is a lot of people get caught up with supplements, and supplements are one of the biggest burners of cash that there are in the fitness industry. Nutrition supplements are $1 billion industry, and their marketing is so powerful that a lot of people get sucked into thinking that they need these things to lose weight. And I just want to tell everybody watching that there's only 3 or 4 supplements that are scientifically proven to help with your health, weight loss, or sports performance. And even though those things are scientifically proven, a lot of times people use them in the wrong ways, so they're still burning their money. Like creatine, for example, creatine powder is a really good one if you're an athlete who's trying to get more out of your training, but only for certain types of athletics. Like marathon runners, creatine is going to do nothing for you. Bioenergetically, it doesn't work with the correct metabolism system. It's only going to work for like power lifters, people who are doing intense exercise under 4 repetitions for a short period of time. So people don't know how to use the supplements, and so they burn their money in the wrong ways. So generally it's like multivitamin, fish oil, and then a couple of other small supplements that we know are really good. Everything else, the jury is kind of out. And I want you to know that you can be healthy without buying anything. Of course, with supplements, you always want to check with your doctor first, but I'm just here to tell you, don't burn your coin unless you're sure about it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you know what? It's funny, when I went through this journey with my doctor a couple of years ago, my doctor basically was like, here are the supplements that we can do, but look on Amazon because you can get the cheapest price there. I was like, okay, good to know.
Yeah, totally. There's also a lot of issues with quality regulation in supplements, though. Like some of them, especially the cheaper supplements, they'll put fillers in where you have like really random, I don't even know what they make the white powder out of, but it's not as much as you would think. And there's not always third-party testing to make sure that what is in the jar is actually in
right.
It can be really, really frustrating. But again, we don't need them. That's a very, like, supplements are a advanced thing. If you're not an advanced person, don't worry about it. I think we've done a good job on this topic. What do you think, Adrina?
Yeah, I think this is great. This is really helpful.
Yeah, so if people from my crew want to learn more about you, where can they find you and how can they work with you?
So I have a website, and you can find me at accountingbyadrina.com. That's spelled EDRINA. I'm also on Instagram at EDRINACALDERON. It's Adrina Calderon. And I am actually just offering kind of a one-on-one consulting for those of you who are interested in kind of like digging deeper into your finances and your budget and trying to figure out a way to create a meaningful budget for you. So you can head over to my profile, you can click the link in my bio, and it'll take you straight to my website, and you can schedule a time with me directly on my calendar.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that. I feel so comfortable recommending you to people from my audience because, like I said, I feel like compassion is such a huge part of it, and I know you so well. So thank you for being there for them.
Thank you, Lauren. Yeah.
For your audience, I have my Your Daily Journal product. You guys can go to laurenchante.com. That's CHANTE.com and click on Work With Me. And if you put in the code Adrina, EDRINA, I'm going to give you guys 25% off of that because it's really important to me that people learn what works for them so they're not burning their money on things that don't.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Oh gosh, this was so fun. Thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for thinking of me.